was it, December 11th, 2013?
Sounds right.
Roll call. John Regan,
Here.
Rick Riley, here. Laura Gandia,
Present.
Greg Lapine,
Here.
Lapine.
Lapine.
So what we'll do is we'll appoint Greg to the board this evening. All other members are absent at this time. They may show up. Everybody had the invitation, including the alternates. In terms of the agenda, we have no scheduled hearings for this evening. We did invite Russ Blanchett, who is the planning board chairperson, to this meeting. He would be first on our agenda. After that, we'll go through some other business with the zoning board, including approval of minutes, looking at the ZBA bylaw changes. Good. How are you?
Good, how you doing?
Very good. We have a fifth person for the board. Got any, please? John Demerol, right?
That was funny, wasn't it, John?
It was funny. Ha! Very funny. Good job. Good seeing you again.
Good to see you.
John Devereux obviously showed up 7:05.
Duly late.
That means he has to buy the coffee and donuts.
That's right.
7:03 I got.
So Russ, if you wouldn't mind, come on forward. And I'll just do a quick opening as to why we invited you here. I guess first on the agenda, which you and I have communicated in email, and it is with regard to a document that was posted on a website, which I believe is a planning board website. I don't know if it's your primary homepage or like a
It is a
spin-off.
public outreach site that we have established.
Okay. And on that document, or on that website, there's a document that is titled Town of Litchfield Planning Board Summer 2013 Community Conversations, What We Heard. And I'm not going to read the whole document. It's certainly available for the public. I assume you're familiar with it.
Yes.
I have shared the link with members of the zoning board as well, so they could review it. And, you know, hopefully you understood from my email that we have some concerns about a couple of comments, just 2 comments that were in there. This isn't a witch hunt to try to find out, you know, the comments, and I'll read those, which are, hold on one moment, please. They were directed specifically at the zoning board, which is what caught my attention. So one of them, and then these are in bullets, and one of these bullets says, zoning board tends to get emotionally involved, which affects the decisions being made and what is being passed in the town. Then another bullet directly underneath that reads, zoning board expects too much from businesses and think they have endless amounts of money. I would say, before I, you know, comment on those specific statements, the rest of the document, as far as I could tell, didn't seem to point out any other town agencies, boards, committees, anything like that. These were the only 2 comments that seemed to be specifically directed at the zoning board, and where, you know, I am the chairperson of the zoning board and certainly take my role here seriously, and I know my fellow members do as well. I was concerned about those 2 particular comments because they really go right at, I guess, the foundation of what the zoning board is here to do for the town. We are volunteers, mind you, but I think we certainly, you know, do try to take our jobs seriously. We do attend training. We send at least 1 to 2 persons to training, at least in the spring or fall, sometimes both. Our focus primarily in those training sessions is staying current with laws, decisions being made that are in the area of zoning in the state of New Hampshire and so forth.
Very similar to how the planning board operates as well. We're also volunteers. We attend trainings in the spring and fall as available and as reasonable for our cause.
Yeah.
So I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, and I certainly want to give everybody here an opportunity to speak and address their concerns. But I guess my primary goal here is to try to just understand from your perspective as the planning board chair, you know, if you feel there's any merit to those particular comments, we would welcome that type of feedback, because we need to understand what the perception is out there. You know, where this is a planning board document, I felt it was very important to get that feedback from you. And also to try to just, if anything, go away from this with a feeling that there is trust and confidence in what the zoning board is doing today and how we conduct our business. It's important to us that, you know, not only members of the public, but certainly folks in the planning board, in the building department, selectmen, everybody has confidence in what we do. If they don't, we would welcome that type of information, the feedback, whatever we can get in order to be able to address it. And if there's something that needs to be corrected, you know, we can correct it.
Of course.
If it's a perception thing, then maybe we can fix the perception out there. I don't know. But this was an opportunity for us to kind of just have that type of a dialogue, if you will.
Yeah, and I'm great that you've extended the invitation to bring me in here and speak with you about that this evening. The document that you're referring to is compilation of commentary that was received by planning board staff in response to a request for input from the public as to what's their vision for Litchfield. What are they? The particular document is a poll of local business owners. So what is their feel for where Litchfield is now? What's right? What could be improved? Where do they want to see the planning board go with the town? So that's just a raw set of comments from the business community. Doesn't reflect the opinions of the planning board or anyone else that I'm aware of. It's, you know, what was said to members of NRPC staff who were given the task of going forth and polling the businesses.
How many businesses are there in town?
I don't have an official count. Depending on how you define business, there's a lot of home occupation permits issued, so those would, you know, considerably be, there's 40 to 50 that I can think of right off the top of my head, a lot.
Just curious, no reason, just curious, the statistics. What percentage of the business owners in town were represented, you think, in this poll?
In the opening paragraph to that document, there's a list of businesses, and I can't recall now how many or exactly who. 6 to 8, perhaps.
Yeah.
6 to 8 businesses of the 50 or so.
Yeah, but some businesses are bigger than others, right?
Sure.
It says here that
Yes, sir.
interviews were, I gotta put my cheaters on. Interviews were held with Rich Charbonneau, Continental Paving, Mike DeMarco, Haley's Pizza, Andy Perlman, attorney at law, Prunier and Perlman, and a Litchfield resident. Actually, I think their offices aren't even in town, are they?
You're correct.
Michael Bergeron, New Hampshire DRED,
Yeah, okay.
business developer, manager, and Litchfield resident. Michael Accomando, and I apologize if I hack any of these names, and Wayne Caulfield from Mel's Funway Park. Ellen Boucher, DLB Paving, Steve Normanton, Grass-Fed Beef, Matt McQuestion from McQuestion Farm, Don Wilson from Wilson Farm, Darlene Darkole from Darkole Stables, and Claudette DeRocher from DeRocher Farm. Those are the businesses that.
So there are 11 entities identified there as providing input to that.
It's not a bad,
Good sample.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of the larger businesses that we could reach, and agricultural too. We're really focused on agricultural preservation right now, trying to understand what the farms want, how we can best serve their desires, and create some sort of a balance between what's best for the farm, what's best for the town as a whole, and blend it together to come with the best outcome.
Okay. Go ahead, please.
Well, based on those comments, I almost think that there are some people in the town that don't understand how the zoning board really works. We don't own those, we don't make the ordinances, the zoning ordinances.
Right.
The town actually votes on them based on planning board's input on or suggestion of the ordinances. So the town actually votes those in. all we're to do is try to interpret those things and provide relief when we can, but we have to follow the letter of the law. There's those 5 requirements that we're required to address whenever we try to give relief, and sometimes it just, where our hands are tied, we don't have any leeway there. We try the best we can. We try to help out anybody that's trying to apply for an ordinance. I mean, an exception.
Right.
Or
Variance.
variance. But I have, my perception is that some people in town think we make them up and we're behind that, and there are zoning board ordinances. They're really not. So I think that's part of the problem, based on the comments I read in that document.
Yeah, there are some misperceptions.
Yeah.
And we can work together to help dispel those misperceptions. I think at a town meeting, the deliberative sessions, if we each give statements of, how we operate, I think that will help to clear misperceptions and help the public understand our roles.
That's a pretty good comment.
Just some outreach, some education.
Yeah, I would
Open
agree
up.
with you, Greg. I think there are some, lack of understanding. I mean, we meet once a month, but that's only if we have hearings. Sometimes we only meet once every, quarter, or sometimes
Times
once
a year.
every 6 months. I
I
think
mean,
we've only had 2 cases this year. That's it. Last year was about the same, 2 or 3 cases, and that was it.
in election day, people have to read those and understand those questions that are at the beginning of the ballot, because they're voting on those ordinances,
Oh, yeah, in some cases,
Yeah.
those are part of the,
and they have to read those and understand them, and
Yep.
and they have to understand they're voting these things in. We're not voting them in. We're not making it up.
And that's why it's so important to get the public outreach component of the board's mission out there. As a planning board, where we're proposing ordinances and zoning amendments and, well, not ordinances, but zoning changes and regulations, it's really in our best interest, if we believe that we're proposing the best possible rule changes, that we get before the public and explain to them why we've come up with what we have.
Yep.
So public outreach is much more important than I think a lot of us have given credit to. And going forward, I'm going to work with my board to try to engage the public more, to build that better understanding.
Well, I think that's also a great lead into the other reason why I thought this would be a good opportunity, or something else I thought we could tie into this particular meeting here would be, perhaps you could educate us a little bit more on what it is the planning board is doing, either, I don't know if it's fair to say on behalf of the town or on behalf of the selectmen, or, I mean, does the planning board just come up with these ideas on your own, or do you get some sort of direction from the selectmen that says, we'd like you to do this? Because there's clearly some changing coming down the pipeline, and actually, I think Laura has maybe some information and some comments in that area, or questions that she'd like to ask in that area. But, if there's some way that we can be, tuned into what the talk is, and B, what might be coming down the pipeline, to the extent that you can talk about that.
Of course.
Yeah.
I'm happy to.
If you wouldn't mind, we'd love to use this opportunity while you're here in front of us to talk a little bit about that.
I'm happy to share everything I know. We do work independently of the selectmen. There's no direction from the selectmen that we receive. In 2013, we're working with a grant that we received to overhaul, or at least review, all of our zoning ordinances. The big item that we're working on right now is agricultural overlay district. Realigning some of the district boundaries, the various zoning district boundaries, to more accurately reflect where property lines are, so we don't have split zone parcels anymore. Look for those coming up on the ballot.
What about industry? Because industry seems to be more of a split issue than
Yep.
agriculture.
And we are also looking at commercial, industrial
That's what I meant,
changes to the zoning ordinance. We'll be having a public hearing in this room next Tuesday, December 17th. If you're available, I'd love to have input from any and all of you. Please show up if you can, 7 PM, right here.
7 PM?
7 PM, Tuesday, December 17th.
Could I make a comment on the comments before we get too far?
Yeah,
back?
please, yeah, I don't know if we,
I was confused by the first comment on whether our ordinances are too sort of anti-business or too burdensome for the business in town, or is it the ZBA's decisions being made that are anti-business or too burdensome for the business? So that's the part that I can't extract from that comment is it the ordinances that we're to rule against, or is it our ability to properly interpret the ordinances?
And decide on them.
Right. And so I can't tell. Do you have an idea?
Not knowing who made the comment, I can't go back and say, please clarify. My best guess is that it was someone who just doesn't understand the process fully and believes that, there's some ill will at play.
I think there's been only one application for a business that we've heard in a
Yeah.
long
I wouldn't
time.
read too much
So
into
was
it.
specifically-
Don't go there.
Yeah, no.
If you read through the entire list of comments, there's a lot of conflicting statements.
Yeah, there is, there certainly is.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not to be taken as, this is what the people of town say and that's it. It's to be taken as guidance for the board to base their decisions and actions on. It's just public input. We took a poll, this is what they said.
I guess in hindsight, I did want to ask this question. In hindsight, reading those comments where they specifically ZBA this, and knowing that that particular statement goes right at the heart of what the ZBA is supposed to do, do you feel it was still necessary to leave those in because of, what you guys were there to do? Or do you think that could have been edited out?
To be honest, I didn't want an edited document. I also didn't want attributions.
material.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm just
I wanted the
curious.
raw material presented before the planning board so that we could have all of that, warts and all, as imperfect as it was, as conflicting as the statements were throughout the document. I think is valuable in the decision-making process.
Well, I also think that this particular meeting, since that was a public document, I think it was important for us to be able to address it in the public and just at least give our perspective, because I personally, working with these people for a number of years now, I don't agree that our decisions are based on emotion. I think our decisions are based on what we understand our role to be, what we understand the zoning ordinances to be, and what we are reading in the application, and what we are hearing from testimony. And it's really incumbent upon the applicant to make their case. And if they don't make their case, they don't get what they're after, or if they've still made an eloquent case, however, it's just too much in conflict with, the criteria that we are supposed to weigh against, such as public interest or benefit to the public and so forth, then they don't get their case. So I think that's been our approach from day one, and I frankly think, I would like to commend the people on the board for volunteering their time and taking on a difficult task. As for the other comment, I don't know. I think that was just a clear misunderstanding too.
And, Rick, if I may add, we try our darndest to try to help whoever's coming here, asking for a variance. We
In some cases,
assist them
yeah,
as much as
absolutely.
we possibly can without,
Navigate what it is
Yeah.
they're supposed to do, but in the
Yeah.
end, we can't make the case for them.
no, we can't,
In
but
some
we
cases, we
try
come
to
down
help
close.
them, to guide them through it, so,
Yeah.
because a lot of them aren't, they don't come with our attorneys, and they're doing it on their own, and so we do what we can to guide them through it.
Can I make a comment?
Please.
I also would like to add that the zoning board is a quasi-judicial body that's unlike any other board in the town. And with that responsibility that I think we all take seriously, we do not let our emotions get involved. We are bound by, like Greg said, to the zoning ordinance. And I think again, I just want to reiterate that point because I think it's very important for people to understand that we're given ordinances or rules or laws, however, people feel more comfortable understanding what they are, that we are bound by. So we don't have a lot of leeway in making a decision. We use our discretion. Each case is fact-specific, and we do our very best to uphold the purpose and intent of the ordinances as a quasi-judicial body with the utmost integrity. And if I could also add too about the emotional part, we have public discussion. All of our input is open to the public, and there's never been any display, as far as I'm concerned, of inappropriate emotion or conduct by any member of the zoning board in my 10-plus years of experience.
Anybody else? Oh, okay.
And I just wanted to also add, like Russ said, the selectmen don't guide us in any way. They appoint us, and then it's hands off.
Yep.
If they feel as though we've done something wrong, they have to sue us. So it goes through legal process if if they don't agree with us.
It's a good arrangement. It
Yeah.
works well for the town.
Yeah.
So let's get back to some of the changes that are coming forward. Did you have any questions on what you?
Well, I do, but I think it's probably more appropriate to be, I was
Save it
planning
for
on
the
attending
17th?
the 17th, but I just wanted to give the zoning board, and
Okay.
like Mr. Blanch said, a heads up that there's significant changes that are being proposed to the town as far as the agricultural overlay district, changes to frontage on 3A, changes to frontage on Route 102, just, I have, this is only part of the information that's available, but there is a lot that is being proposed that I think we should be aware of.
And all the documents are on the public outreach website that the planning board has established off of the town's main website. I'd invite you to all, please look through it. If you have any concerns, any comments, any questions, get in touch with me directly, get in touch with planning board staff, show up on the 17th. I'd love to work with the ZBA to make sure we put forth the best possible changes to our ordinances.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
I was wondering, just as far as the process goes, I received this just as a member of the public, and obviously there was a lot of work and effort put into these documents. Is there any reason or any way the zoning board could be involved with this prior to dissemination to the public? As a zoning board member, I think we have, a different insight into this going forward. And, now when I attend, if we had changes, we don't want to be the ones who are raising our hand every, minute with different things
Right.
that, may impede the progress that you already made.
Yeah, I would invite you, if you have any suggestions for changes or anything, any concerns or questions, work with the planning board staff. I'd be happy to get you contact information for Joan McKibben and Jen Sis, our NRPC circuit rider.
But I'm thinking beforehand, like when you are working on this,
If I had it all to do over again, I would have been before the ZBA much sooner to get more involvement with this board. I apologize. It's something I didn't consider soon enough.
because I know by statute we are allowed to have joint sessions
Yes.
with the planning board.
Ooh,
Yeah.
good point.
Yeah.
Well, there may be opportunities after the 17th to do just that.
I think it'd be very beneficial for the town.
Yeah.
Yeah, when do these be, when do you start actually, putting these into the warrant?
We have our first public hearing on these articles on the 17th.
Yeah,
So we've already crafted them, we've already set them and sent them to public hearing, which will be on the 17th.
yeah.
Any changes that come from that public hearing will be considered by the board and noticed, and a second public hearing will take place. And then we'll have the final reading and send it to election.
When is the second public hearing? Do you have any idea?
Hasn't been set yet.
Okay.
Are you thinking we try to do a joint session somewhere in between the public hearings?
I think it would have been more beneficial we had that before
Before.
it had the
Before
public
that.
hearing.
Yeah,
That would have
Yeah.
been, I think, ideal.
I apologize. In hindsight, that would have been a great tool for us to work together. Either a joint session or just a workshop where we could all get together and collaborate.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Yeah.
These are the things you learn as you go along.
Learn, yeah, I was gonna say just that. Excellent. Okay.
Yeah.
Do we have any other questions for Mr. Blanchett? Well, I thank you very much for coming down here tonight, taking time out of your personal schedule to.
It's been my pleasure.
To attend our.
It's
our
good to meet you all, and I look forward to working closely with you all going forward.
meeting. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
You too.
You do.
Okay, next on the agenda,
Go right ahead, do it all. There's more too. I just printed out part.
I'd like to talk about the changes to the ZBA bylaws, which we did discuss January. And since then, I've had a couple of conversations with town attorney, as well as Jason Hotch, the town administrator. So I brought with me a draft of our bylaws with the revisions to the proposed addition of section 4.10, which covers video recordings of zoning board meetings. You gonna read it? Or you want me to read it?
I can read it, you wanna read it?
Okay, go ahead. It's essentially, everything in 4.10 would be new and is what's being proposed here. So what we'll do is we'll read it, and then we can take a vote on it, or ask any questions and take a vote on it.
Video recordings. All board meetings shall be recorded, and the recording shall be made available to the public in accordance with RSA 91-A and with the provisions stated herein. A, all video recorded proceedings of the ZBA shall be kept for 6 years from the date of the proceeding. B, a copy of the video recording shall be made available to the public via the town's website and at no cost within 5 calendar days of the broadcast. Alternate formats such as DVD shall be provided upon request and for a fee at the prevailing rate set by the Board of Selectmen for such formats. C, only a certified transcript of any video recording obtained through the procedures listed below shall be admissible in any further proceedings. Roman numeral 1. Transcripts shall be prepared by a stenographer retained by the board at the board's direction upon written request to the chairperson within 6 years of the proceeding. Roman numeral 2. The requesting party shall pay the entire cost of preparing the requested transcript, and the chairperson may, in his or her discretion, require a deposit prior to the preparation. If the actual cost is less than the deposit, the balance shall be returned to the requesting party within 7 calendar days. D, an index of all recordings with the date, time, number of cases, and names of cases, and the length of each recording shall be kept on file for a period of 12 months from the date of the recording.
Okay, I'll just say something up front. One of the ones that I was a little concerned about was something about the request. Transcript shall be prepared by a stenographer retained by the board at the board's direction upon written request of the chairperson within 6 years of the proceeding. 6 years seems like a long time. After consulting with the town attorney, we just felt it was easier to keep it sort of like coterminous, if you will, with bullet A, which says that the recorded proceedings of the ZBA shall be kept for a period of 6 years, which according to Jason is okay. He plans on keeping them indefinitely anyways. I mean, when you start to work out all the other hypotheticals, like how long, what's the maximum time that somebody might want to ask for one of these recordings? You can kind of go 30 days, you can kind of go maybe a year, you can kind of go, so it was just, hey, it says 6 years up here, let's say 6 years down there, there's no harm. Realistically, has anybody asked for something 6 years after a case minute? Probably not, but it just seemed to be the right way to do it. So that's how that number was come to. Other than that, everything else seems to have passed the test from both Jason representing the selectmen and the town attorney. So I think after a little bit of work here, we finally come to the language that we were looking for initially.
How is it going to be made available on the website?
If you visit it today, there are links that you can use to download those documents, But they're also looking at making them available through YouTube, I believe, as well. They've got a YouTube kind of,
So it's not it's not, you say document, but it's really
it's a
WAV file or
WAV,
something.
exactly. I'm sorry, yeah. It's a file that can be downloaded from the website, exactly. And what's neat about it, from what I've seen, it does sort of have a title, it does have a total duration, so it tells you like how long this recording is, and, you know, it's dated and so forth, so it's the kind of indexing that we were looking for anyways. As long as they continue to push that stuff up there, which is what Jason said they're gonna continue to do, then it's there, available for the public as well as us.
And it's only for 30 days?
No, they're leaving that stuff up there. He's
No way.
keeping it, it's being pushed, I don't know exactly how long it's staying available. It's definitely longer than 30 days. It's staying available on the internet. But they're also keeping it on servers indefinitely. So you can go there and request that same type of information. What I think what this board needs to do now is to just start tracking these recordings so that we have a mini spreadsheet, we have our own little log, and we always know what to ask for if we ever needed to ask for it. So that's what, I figured I'll just put together a spreadsheet template, and then at the end of each meeting, like this one here,
Even with the minutes?
I'll just put a little note, yeah, exactly. Somehow, maybe it'll be referenced in the minutes or something like that.
Attachment of some sort.
Which will just consist of the data. It's not gonna be the actual file itself. It's just gonna be the title, the duration, you know, the date, that kind of stuff.
The index.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So I think in order for these to become effective, I believe we need to take a vote on whether we want to adopt these changes to the bylaw. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention, there is a point in our existing bylaws that makes a statement that our fee schedule is attached to the bylaws. So I actually have inserted that table at the end of the document. So it'll look something like this, you know, which has the fees and just a little description of, you know, the check is made payable.
Is that a new,
To the town of
is that a
Litchfield.
new matrix? Did you make that table?
I did, I cleaned it up a little bit from what it used to be. It was a little confusing before, believe it or not.
Is that based on inflation or anything?
It's based on the then current rate, which obviously this thing would have to be amended each time the USPS,
That's
but,
unfortunate, huh?
you know, there is a statement in here that, that it is based on current rates for certified mail with return receipt, which is what it's all about.
Do you know the current rate for collecting copies of these videos and so forth on there too?
No,
We don't know.
no, but I don't think we need that. At
You
least
said it's like this.
here it just says that it's set by the selectmen, and quite frankly, if you would ask the selectmen today, I'm not sure that they would know what they would charge you yet. Because they haven't had to, and I understand that. I don't think it's a huge priority. Probably not until it actually is needed. So, any other comments or questions on the amendments, which would include 4.10, as well as just putting our rate table at the end of the document?
So, and you said the town attorney is okay with all this?
Yes. What was really interesting, and I don't know if I had sent you her email message, but there was an email at one point that had Jason, myself, and the town attorney all together in the email string. And Jason, essentially, there was a question as to whether it was even necessary to do this. And she responded that she thought it was a very good idea, that in terms of appeals, judges are not going to look at a video recording. They typically won't, according to her. What they want to see is a transcript. They want to see highlights of specific sections of the transcript that they should focus on, and that's all they're going to look at. They don't want to be bothered with everything else associated with the video and all of that good jazz. So I thought that sort of put, you know, back this up in terms of what it is we were trying to accomplish here and what we felt we needed because of how our appeals process and how that all works.
We always have our minutes, so
Oh, yeah, the minutes are still there, and, you
Yeah.
know, she understands that too.
That's what they've used
However,
in the past.
The video,
Our-
but
the
the
town-
video is gonna be used to develop the transcript.
Exactly.
If and when it's needed.
Yeah.
The video will be used for the transcript, exactly, and the town attorney felt that it certainly is possible in an appeals process for somebody to present information from that particular media in their appeal. So, you know, we had to, and I think in our opinion, we had to put something in our bylaws to address that. Specifically taking us down the path of a transcript. So, any other comments, questions? Do we have a motion then to accept the proposed changes to the bylaws, which are essentially the addition of section 4.10 as it was read, and insertion of our fee schedule, which is a table based on the number of abutters and what the fees would be, and also stipulates that our application fee of $100 is included there too. So it's really, today it's two checks, one to the town for $100 and another check to the U.S. Postal Service, and that check is based on the number of abutters plus one notice to the applicant. We have a motion to accept those bylaw changes. Do we have a second?
A second.
Laura seconds. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. So, I think now 30 days after this, they become effective, right? Okay, good. I will work on changing this from a draft form to a final form, and then sometime in January, I guess we can start working under the new bylaws. Now, one of the things that Laura mentioned just before we started our meeting, she had been doing some research based on our discussion back in January around our current fees. So I think this is probably a real good opportunity, maybe if you want to talk a little bit about what you found there.
Sure, what I was asked to do was just research surrounding towns and cities to find out what they were charging for variances.
Yep.
And this is what I found. Londonderry charges a $60 application fee plus $6.11 for each certified mail to the owner and to the applicants.
Okay.
Applicant and abutters, so $6.11. We only charge like 3 and change, I believe.
No, not anymore.
No.
It's 6 and 11.
So- okay, so
6.11.
6.11,
Certified
okay.
mail with return receipt currently.
It's $6.11. Okay,
Yeah.
so that's what they have $60 application fee, $6.11 for the certified mail. Hudson is a $100 application fee with $3.56 for each abutter for certified mail. Manchester has an application fee of $25, but that's just an initial fee no matter what. And then they charge $350 for a change of use variance. For a multi-use variance is $350. All others is $200. And they additionally charge $35 for a rehearing. So if somebody requests a rehearing, they charge $35. Bedford charges $100 for residential variance, $200 for a commercial variance with $6.11 for each abutter. Derry is $100 for the application fee with $3.40 for each abutter. Nashua, basic fee for a use variance is $900. All others are $330, and abutters are $3 plus the postage.
And this is and for those, it's presumed that when the variance passes, that's when they pay. They don't argue the case, see that it fails.
No,
There was some,
application.
this is the application fee.
Yeah.
So some of it clearly stated, and this information I obtained, just so everybody's clear, off the internet, off the
Yeah.
town, the various communities' websites. And some of them did say, this application fee is non-refundable, so this is what you pay to step foot in front of the
That
ZBA.
keeps people from being unprepared.
We have,
Perhaps.
we have the same thing, it's
You're
not
gonna pay
refundable,
$600, yeah.
right? What's our fee for? Is it $100?
$100, exactly. And that $6.11, I just want to be clear, that's actual rates. It's not like the town is making any money. And that check is made out directly to the United States Postal Service. So that's just to cover mailing costs, certified mail with return receipt. That would change, hypothetically, every time the US postal rate changes. We need to update that table to reflect that.
So that doesn't cover our expense for preparing the letters.
It does not.
Yeah.
It does not. So the $100 is supposed to be the catch-all for all the admin associated with a hearing, minutes preparation, notice of decision preparation, and the time it takes, which typically I've been driving this stuff to the post office and so forth and so on.
Do we know, are any of these boards, I mean, we're kind of a volunteer board. Are they all volunteer boards?
I did not research
No.
that, so I don't know.
No, I think in Manchester, you're voted, you're elected, I think.
Yeah.
Do the members receive a stipend, a fee, or a salary or some sort?
That I don't know.
Yeah, I wonder if some of it is to recover that.
So I guess, and thank you, first of all, Laura, for researching that. I know I had poked around at some of that stuff, so some of that data sounds familiar. Londonderry, for example, in Manchester and Nashua, I remember reading those and going, oh, jaw-dropping.
Yeah.
I had done, and I don't have it with me, but I had done an analysis of our own time based on actual timesheets submitted by our recording secretaries over the past, right through to, I think, the middle of 2012, I think, is when I had finished this analysis. And quite honestly, I came up where we're definitely, $100 isn't covering, even at, a labor rate of about $20 an hour, it's not covering all of the time spent preparing this stuff. But I don't know if that's the goal here either. So I guess this whole discussion stems from, really, goes back probably close to 2 years, where we were trying to figure out, are we charging the right amount of money? You're looking at Londonderry where they're at $60 and then the actual rate for the postal service, and a couple others that were at $100. And then certainly a couple outliers that are quite a bit more, but, so are those cities, and those perhaps are much more complex type of applications that they're going through. I don't feel inclined to go up at this point in time with our fees,
Well, it's interesting.
as myself anyways.
You've taken on more responsibility, because when I was doing it, I used to have, Cecile was, I had one person taking the minutes, and Cecile writing up the letters and running them to the post office and that sort of thing, so.
Well,
Yeah.
she was you were paying her for that.
I was
too.
paying it for it, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, so I was, so he's offloaded that cost.
Yeah, initially, when that office got shorthanded, that was taken off the table, so I had really no choice but to
Yeah.
take it on.
Yeah,
And right now, let me put it this way, I continue to look for opportunities where maybe the town can do that kind of stuff for us. But for the time being, I'm okay. I
The
mean,
volume
especially-
is really
The
killing
volume
us.
isn't that, yeah, exactly, and, I go by the post office anyways. so.
you got nothing to do
I
all day, so
continue to
I'll
do
go
it.
to the post office.
I'm starting to get friendly with the guy behind the counter. So I don't know, you've done the research, what do you think?
I'm inclined to keep the rates where they're at, given the fact that Derry, Bedford, and Hudson are all at $100.
And Londonderry's a little cheaper.
Right. I mean, Manchester and Nashua, they're
They're big
cities.
cities, so.
So obviously, I can understand why the cost would be a little bit more.
Bedford's in there too. with
Bedford's
the-
100, right?
Yeah,
Okay, anybody else? Good. I don't think we need to vote on that, because it really wasn't a motion anyways.
But
It
just
was
for discussion
Just a
purposes.
discussion.
Right.
Okay,
I'm gonna ask you this.
the only other thing I had on the agenda was approval of previous meeting minutes. I left them in the other room. My sense is there was only one, I think, meeting where we had minutes other than a cancellation.
When did we meet last?
It was the case we just heard. Or was it the
It's
case?
the Charbonneau one?
Yeah, I think so.
Was I not here?
June? Can't be.
Yeah, it probably was. Well, June was the last one I had in the file. I just filed July, August, September, October, November, which were all cancellations. I believe. Let me go grab the folder.
Who's grabbing the
I
folder?
don't know.
It's in the file cabinet in the other room,
You need to get it?
in the back office. Huh? No, I'm gonna have to use my key.
Oh. Got the
We have
alarm
no
off.
other mail here, so this is the last thing on the item, and if there is something approved.
So is this a whole new,
Switch to,
this is all brand new,
Yeah, I
not,
was
not a,
gonna mention it to go over it, right.
it's
Just-
not a,
It's not any changes, no, it's new.
it's not a change to
No, it's
existing.
brand new.
Sing Christmas songs or something.
But then I see over here, there's
Then there's changes, right, there's a
changes
mix.
to other ones that get crossed out. and that's- Okay, so that's all, and this is just a part of it, is it?
Just
Jeez. You know, that's the thing. The town people always, most of the people.
Remember, you're being televised, so.
I think they just ignore that. Yeah, I remember that.
Yep, check back.
Okay. All right. November was a canceled meeting. October was a canceled meeting. September was a canceled meeting. August was a canceled meeting.
How come
July was a canceled meeting.
How come I didn't have it this easy? Jeez.
You didn't have Kevin Lynch.
Jeez.
So June looks to be the last one where we had minutes, and I have minutes from May as well. Is that?
I wasn't here. That's why I'm not crazy.
No, you weren't here.
Yeah.
Rick, Laura, John Devereaux, and Greg.
I could actually vote on it.
Yeah, I know, huh? I can refresh your memory on that one if you would like. So at this particular meeting, we did approve the minutes for May, so May is done, so it would be just June. We discussed bylaws regarding video recording and ZBA minutes. And apparently we had an applicant that was waiting for a fifth person to show up.
Oh, yeah.
We had no fifth person, but they decided to go forward. So we heard case 2013-03, Richard and Jill Charbonneau, 5 Colby Road, map 20, lot 24. Property is approximately 7¼ acres of land, has frontage of 294.54 feet. They were looking for a variance from LZO Article 800-00, Ordinance 801.00, permitted uses. Existing lot on record is in the northern commercial zone as defined by LZO 800.01B. The applicant is proposing to construct a single-family residence, which is not a permitted use. And then there's a lot of information in here about the testimony and the public discussion. And if I remember correctly, at the end of this, we voted to approve.
Yeah.
Motion carried 4-0-0. And then,
It
No,
wasn't an
really.
emotional decision either.
no. Although I will say there are times when I do go away feeling good about, you know, some decisions that we're able to make here. You know, I don't know if you guys need time to read these. They had been distributed previously. So if you're prepared to vote to approve the minutes, then we can approve them. If you're not, we can push this out and take them up when we take up the December minutes.
Did any of you have a chance to look at them online at all?
The,
The minutes?
several months ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know, it's been a
There
while.
was no issues, right?
No, I had no issues with them.
So I make a motion to accept the minutes.
I have a motion to accept the minutes for June 12th, 2013. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second from Greg. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I'm gonna abstain, because I would like to read it one more time.
Okay,
I
one
have
abstention
abstentions.
and another abstention. The motion would carry 3-0-2.
How do we do that? I think it's the carries, huh?
Carries?
Yeah,
What, the White House or the house
it's okay.
up on the end of?
We understand.
that one, yes.
It's gonna be a driveway right there.
Yeah.
It goes back.
Okay, so that concludes anything that we had on the agenda. So at this point, I'd like to ask the board if there's any other items you would like to discuss. Laura has something, so please, what would that be?
That would be, I didn't want to get into a lot of discussion with Mr. Blanchett, because I know he was coming here and it wasn't, it was scheduled for him. But we do have a lot of changes that are being proposed to be reviewed on December 17th. And one of them is an agriculture overlay district that's brand new, it looks like. So that is,
We don't have an overlay district in town today, do we?
For
no,
agriculture, no.
What is an overlay district?
it's in addition to an existing district that's already there. So you can have an agriculture overlay district in a commercial district.
I see.
So the underlying district would be commercial, but you'd have the agriculture overlaying on top of the commercial
So
district.
commercial, agricultural, as opposed to being, they're further segregating a commercial area to be agriculturally focused.
Well, they're saying,
Yes.
if, like, right here, all along the Merrimack River,
Yep.
part of this is commercial, so they're still calling it commercial, but on top of that, they're adding on another district on top of it.
And what's well, why would you do that, I guess, do you know?
The purpose says, is the agriculture conservation district is intended to promote areas of the community that are well suited for agriculture. The overlay district is authorized and enacted in accordance with RSA 2134A, farm, agriculture, farming, and the objectives to protect, promote, and encourage the continuation of farming in areas with the most suitable soils and areas historically farmed. And again, it goes into agricultural uses and activities.
It keeps somebody from buying Wilson Farm and putting something other than a farm there.
Not,
I don't know if it
That's
keeps
the other way
them from
around,
building.
is if they have commercial area that they'd like to build, to have a farm on, they can do it without having any ordinance issues.
I thought they could do that today. Farms, I thought were pretty much.
That's a
anyway.
well, I think it's, if you look at what's designated, I think it's
Yeah.
more to protect certain
Yeah.
areas in town.
So
It
how
must
does
be.
it not keep somebody from putting a sneaker factory on what is today a farm?
You wouldn't be able to.
That's my point.
Oh, okay.
So
It is my
It keeps you
understanding.
from doing something
So it's.
other than farming on that
So what you're
farm.
saying is this takes away the commercial zone. is what
It
it's
restricts the commercial zone.
I
to be
would say,
farmland only.
and I haven't read it in its entirety, but I would tend to
Yeah.
agree with John that
Yeah.
it's putting restrictions.
Wait,
So a lot of the land is right, about it
That makes
abuts
sense.
the Merrimack
Yeah.
River.
wait,
So,
if you remember, we already dealt with one of these things. It's called the overlay aquifer district.
Aquifer, right.
Remember that? That's overlays the whole town, the aquifer overlay district, so.
and what is interesting is what they're mapping out to be the agricultural overlay does not extend north into the aquifer district. So I just found that to be an interesting way that they now have segregated that area, because the area by Colby Road, which is deemed to be one of the highest aquifer district, if that's the right term, for the town, was not given the designation of the protection for agriculture, which I thought was interesting. So they do have, like I said, pages of, of a new ordinance that they want to, have public input on. I mean, I went through it and I, have my own comments on them, but I definitely think it's worth the zoning board taking a look at. And then also what they are attempting to present to the town, or what they will present to the town, are changes in, like, frontage, for example. They said, for example, on frontage on Route 3A, currently, the minimum frontage, according to the chart that I have from the website, is 500 feet. They want to reduce that to 200 feet, which I think is a huge change for the town and for the layout of the town. And the frontage on 102, it's currently minimum 300 feet. They want that to go to 200 feet. So just, a quick look at it, 102 I think is different than what 3A is. But they want to have the same frontage for 3A as they want to have to 102.
Is this affecting residential, business, or both? So any lot that today would have to be 500,
Well, there's a lot to read, but I'll just read you the top part. It says, "The frontage requirements are proposed to be amended as follows for all non-residential districts, with the minimum distance between access points proposed to be included in the site plan review regulations, instead of the zoning ordinance to be streamlined application review."
All non-resident.
Yeah.
which means commercial,
Right.
which means they're making it more,
Easier.
they're making it easier for commercial to make use of property.
In the agricultural zone.
Well, no, this is different. No, this isn't the what I'm reading to you now is not part of the
Well, he is
agricultural.
saying
Most of
3A
the
is-
agricultural zone.
Well, no, the agricultural is just by the Merrimack River. It's like
Yeah,
a small
it's on-
strip
It's just on
along.
one side of the.
Right, so you're not extending it all the way to 3A. It's kind of like a
Oh,
certain amount. So if you look at the
okay,
map,
fertile
I'll
land.
take off the map.
yeah, I'm going to pass that along. So, I mean, some of it does extend out quite a ways, but just by looking at it, you know.
Like,
the-
we looked at, there was a.
Where's 3A
this is a
on
piece
this?
of property that, remember they tried to make a road out of last year, a couple of years ago? I thought they were trying to, it was where,
They
golly,
usually have the big maps up. I wonder if
Yeah,
that's
those are
one of them right
What are
there.
you talking about, the tree farm?
you know where the greenhouses are right now, where DLB has their paving, where
Yeah, the
Eric
tree
used to be.
farm.
They were
Noel's
try-
Tree Farm?
Yeah, remember the house that was set back up in there?
Yeah.
Well, it still is. Remember they were trying to put a road up in there, and we
Yeah.
didn't, there was a frontage issue, we didn't. It sounds like they've just incorporated that into the agricultural space somehow.
I don't see 3A on here. I would assume it'd be here.
Agreed.
There's our big map.
Oh, I'm thinking 3A is probably right,
Here's-
it's right here. It's along that whole seam.
It's gotta be, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, so it comes all the way up to 3A.
yeah, it's that whole seam. It's
It
everything
looks
from
like
the
it.
river all the way out to 3A,
Oh, disco, okay.
more
That's what
or
it
less.
looks like it.
I just
Except for that
noticed
piece
So
of
that's
property.
Right here.
Albuquerque right here, so this would have to be 3A.
Well, including that piece of property. I wonder why they included that.
Included what?
This?
That
Yeah.
strip that goes across.
Yeah, that's.
Is there a farm on the other side?
Well, I think he also commented, right?
Oh, maybe that's the cornfield behind Page,
Yeah.
on either side of
Maybe
Page.
that one?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Well, he also said they were trying to go by property boundaries, not,
There, on that edge.
no
farm.
split
Let's
zone.
try and-
Yeah. Do you want some more spectacles to go with
This
those?
okay? Yeah, I definitely do. This talent, no, so Page should be, there's Page way down here.
So I'm feel
Oh,
good
okay.
about the
Oh, and there's-
increase,
there's
to
the
sort of protect the
cornfields.
agriculture,
Okay.
but I hate the
Yeah.
idea that they're taking away commercial land, and because, you know, we have very little commercial land, right? And slowly but surely it's going away.
Seems like, well,
Well, I think a lot of the surveys actually, I think a lot of the feedback that they got from the public was that they don't really want to see the character of the town change.
That's right. They wanna change the commercial to agriculture
But,
and preserve that agriculture, it seems.
right, and
well, that's what if you read all those comments, that's kind of what they're hearing.
And what I also noticed that, you know,
Oh,
just,
yeah,
you know, just to take a look at is
So
the
it's farmland
agricultural
now.
overlay district talks about maintaining a certain image for the town, as far as a visual image for the town, like a small New England
that calls
town.
the question for that
They talk
space.
about, you know, keeping the farms and the houses and the buildings that will be associated with farming. They state that they want to keep a certain image and character to the town. So they want to do that, and they want to have a certain look to the town, but then the other changes to the ordinance are shorten or making the frontage requirement significantly smaller on 3A, which I think if you put those two together, if you're going to allow more businesses, and I haven't seen anything in here yet, does not mean it's in here, that will talk about, you know, those businesses keeping in line with the small agricultural look as well.
That's a tightrope, yeah.
So there's a lot in here, is, you know, a lot to be read and a lot to really digest.
And you got that all off of the website that had the same document that we were talking about tonight.
The way I was informed by it was an email, some group
I used to be on that
distribution email.
distribution list. I think I might have kicked somebody off and now I'm kicked off.
But other than that, I did not know it was on, I wouldn't have had any knowledge that this was taking place but for that email that I got from a group.
You know, all that
distribution.
stuff you read, is there anything in there about the workforce housing?
I did not see that, but I haven't read it all in its entirety yet.
I think they're still trying to figure out where to quote unquote zone that.
Actually, no, I do think I do. Wait a minute.
Nice television.
Oh, they do have about non-residential uses should be, the wording is a small New England village character.
Yeah.
So they're trying to do that too with
So-
that, so I stand corrected with that.
The agriculture the agricultural overlay just calls the question on commercial, takes it off the table.
I don't know.
It
It's
does-
curious,
If it gets
yeah.
voted in, you know?
Well, then why wouldn't you take it off, if that's what the intent is?
Yeah, I'm not sure
Well, this is
the
how they
answer
do
to
it.
that question.
They they just apply an overlay on top of a commercial zone to say, okay, commercial, that's agriculture, it's not sneaker factory.
It's pretty much all the existing farmland, pretty much.
Yeah, so he's protected that.
Yeah, I'm curious to understand what the benefit is. I mean, if it ain't broke, why fix it? I don't understand what that does. How does that preserve it? How does it protect it?
Well,
Do they give them tax
what
breaks or
people are
what?
afraid of is the farms get sold and become these huge residentials,
Yeah,
and they're, you know, then.
Or commercial,
Or potentially commercial,
yeah,
right?
because that's what the zone to be.
A lot of it is.
well, that's what I'm curious. If that's the case, all right, I understand, but if right now I don't.
Well, cool, Laura, thank you for bringing that. to
You already saw
attention.
some of that on the southern end of Wilson, where they put that, years ago, they put that big, huge residential area,
Yeah, right.
right? It could easily grow in that fashion.
And I know some of the changes that they made in here, I think it's all part of the grant that Mr. Blanchett was speaking about, because there's a lot of mention about bed and breakfasts, and I know you attended that work session with me as well, and people were saying, oh, we'd love to have cottage-style type businesses, bed and breakfast, so they added in bed and breakfast in here numerous times, I think, you know, just to, you know,
Encourage that type of business development.
business based on the meeting that they had earlier in the year. I can't find the other thing.
Well, I mean, they've been working on this for a while. It seems like they've taken a very cautious approach to, not rush to any, you know, conclusions. I don't envy them their challenge though, because you seek public input and then
Get
you
everything.
get it, yeah, and it's like everything, and then we try to get the other side and go meet with the businesses. Although I was surprised that not all those businesses are actually located in town.
That's
Yeah,
the way they
why would they have done that?
I was told in terms of the attorney that it's because they represent many businesses.
In town.
But, I mean, to me, I don't see that much unlike a lobbyist in Washington DC. I mean, they're there for a particular, there's a conflict of interest when those are the people that are there to write the laws,
Yeah.
okay? And that's exactly what's going on.
And if you remember when we had the first meeting, when it was open to everyone, I don't recall hearing any negative comments about the ZBA, when we
Yeah.
had all different members of the public present.
Well, I'll definitely make it a point to hit that website and download some of that stuff myself. The 17th is a Tuesday?
Tuesday.
Okay. I think I can make that. That's next Tuesday. I'll have to look. Any other business, any other,
I think that's enough for 1 month.
you good?
No, we don't do it, overtax ourselves.
All right, well, just about an hour then.
You wanna go to midnight, like I used to do?
Like we used to do now. If everybody's okay, I know you're still reading.
No, I was just,
You sure?
I could, I'm
I don't
good.
want to cut you short.
No?
All right, I'm gonna cut it short. Do I have a
Yeah.
motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion. I want 3 motions in one meeting.
I have a motion to adjourn. Do we have a second?
Second.
Greg seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Meeting is adjourned at 7:05, 8:05. Yeah, 3-minute meeting.